When I first began this process, we had all of these parameters for how we were thinking about, identifying these complaints. But of course, we still had this issue of not having access to the narrative text.
We understand our job as collecting information, organizing that information, and presenting it in ways that help people advance arguments to advance human rights.
There are thousands of complaints per year and up to hundreds of pages per complaint, so those hundreds of pages will all get summarized down to one row in a database somewhere that says, here's the date, here's the person or people who were accused, and here is some category describing what type of abuse happened.
Let's just say you have a negative encounter with police. They stop you at your car, they illegally search you, they handcuff you tight, and they use force on you. Maybe during the process of a search, they squeeze your genitalia. If I were to look for that complaint, it would be categorized by its primary category, which is excessive use of force.
They've been categorized into one of a small number of categories that are applied by a city administrator or somebody at the oversight agency, for instance.
We recently gained access to complaints that were filed between 2011 and 2015. These were underlying documents for all of the complaints that were filed. So we finally had access to the narratives.
Things that we were seeing are violence that's sexual in nature, but that was not kind of categorized or known as such. The summary data would say, for instance, improper search of person. So a lot of detail gets washed away. And again, that detail getting washed away is one of the ways that impunity kind of materializes.
Multiple things are happening. And also in the process of this misconduct, a sexual violation occurs.
So the work that we're doing is recovering some of those allegations from this larger unstructured data.
So just written words, prose, trapped inside a PDF.
It's exactly in these documents that are not in analyzable form that the evidence does exist, and it has been kind of removed by the time we get to the analyzable data.
And for an individual to manually go through and pull all of the critical information out of that is incredibly time-consuming and in many cases can be prohibitive for a project. But there are now all of these machine learning approaches that can make that process more efficient and scalable.
We started off with a small group of all women volunteers, and then that group grew to over 200 volunteers who committed to reading complaints every week for a few months.
We are able to categorize a single incident into more than one category. These categories, what's important about them is they are based on the kind of determinations of human rights investigators and trained volunteers trying to identify evidence of these types of abuses.
The specific patterns that we're sharing with the public right now is this idea or this pattern of neglect.
By showing the way that gender-based and sexual violence gets hidden, we're able to demonstrate something about the Chicago police themselves who, whether intentionally or not, have been kind of covering up a lot of these incidents by the way that they code them.
We found almost 200 cases where people were in intimate partner abuse situations and were mistreated by police. We found over 90 complaints where someone had just experienced a sexual assault, and when they went to police for help, they were victim blamed, instances where police refused to give them a case report.
And that's something that data analysis can provide. It can provide that linking mechanism and that context to show this individual anecdote is part of a larger pattern.
If this can be the way that I bring analysis of the shared experience to even one person's lived experience, it's just such a powerful thing.